Welcome to Cherry Red TV and AFC Wimbledon TV. My name's Iain McNay, and today we have another programme in our series on Wimbledon legends. And the guest today is Gayle. Hi, Marcus.
Hi, Iain.
And of course, Marcus played for Wimbledon FC for 8 or 9 years and came back to join the Wimbledon family at AFC Wimbledon a couple of years ago. He played for AFC Wimbledon for a year, and in the last year and a half he's managed AFC Wimbledon Reserve. So we're going to talk about Marcus' career as a whole, but obviously we're going to focus mainly on his Wimbledon years involvements. So Marcus, let's start at the beginning when you were quite young. I guess you were a pretty tasty footballer, weren't you, when you were at school?
I was okay. There was quite a few players that were, I would say, better than myself, more talented, but I think I was probably one of the best trainers. I was always going training. If there was anything to do with football, I was gone, instead of being on the road doing, what teenagers are up to. But yeah, I was alright. I was good.
So you were committed right from an early age?
Yeah.
And did you think you might be a professional footballer one day?
I think I knew from an early age. I said it in one of my old school books when I was about 5. My mum still got the book. And the teacher asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? So I want to be a footballer.
Yeah.
So I always knew. I think everybody in my family knew, and friends alike, they knew I was going to become a footballer.
So it's interesting. So you were saying that you weren't necessarily the best footballer at your school, but you had the best attitude insofar as you focused on what you wanted to do with your life.
Yeah. Even when I see the guys now, they'll still say, I should have come training with you. Like, they've seen what I've done.
Yeah.
They knew they was as good, if not better. But they always said you was the only one that was really committed into going to training. So they see that it's paid off, and they think back and maybe regret. Maybe they should have come training.
So did you enjoy the training as such, or was it a means to an end?
No, I enjoyed it. I just love football. I breathe it, I love it, I eat it, I do everything for football. If I can't play football or be around it, it's not me. So important for me to be around football.
So you were telling me earlier that you actually supported Nottingham Forest when you were young, but you never saw them play.
I didn't see them play. We didn't have Sky back then when I was young. But the footage that we did have, I think it was given as a birthday present, a Nottingham Forest football kit from about 9 or 10. So I think that might have coincided with them winning the European Cup or something like that. But I never saw them play until maybe Match of the Day, whatever it was back then. And I think it was John Robertson playing on the wing, and he was left-footed, so I always looked out for him because I was left-footed as well. So didn't really support him in a massive way, but I had the kit from an early age and just get my eye out on a few results now and again.
And the first time you actually saw them play for real was when you played against them at Wimbledon. That's quite something, isn't it?
Yeah, many years later, yeah. I think it was my first goal. My first Premier goal was against Nottingham Forest away.
Huh.
So, yeah, many years later, I was actually at the stadium I've seen on TV and saw pictures of, playing for Wimbledon.
Yeah. So you were spotted, weren't you, when you were around 12, 13 years old?
Yeah,
you were playing in a Friday
12.
night league, West London. And so what happened exactly?
I was just playing in a local community club called Simba. They were based in Shepherd's Bush. We used to have our games at the back of a QPR stadium. And a guy called Norman Worcester came down. I don't know if he heard about me. He said he heard about me and he was searching for me in the area. So he found out where we was actually playing and invited me to come to his team, which was an 11-a-side. Prior to that, I was only just playing 5-a-side. So I went to his team for about 2 years, done really well. And I think through that, Brentford came along and, as they do, take the pick of the players, and there they go.
And was there other clubs watching you apart from Brentford that you were aware of?
I don't think so. Not to my knowledge. It was only Brentford I heard of that was around watching. I think from that team we had about 4 of us that signed schoolboy forms at Brentford. So quite successful for Norman's team.
So you signed schoolboy forms around what, 14?
14,
15? Yeah.
14 years. You sign it on your actual birthday. I remember going on to my mum and saying, "Mum, you've got to sign these forms. I've got to bring them back in tomorrow." And she's like, "No, I need to read the whole document properly." I'm like, "Mum, just sign it, just sign it." She's like, "No." So I went to bed that night a bit upset and thinking, "Oh, she's not going to sign it. She's messing up my plan. I want to be a footballer. This is the start of it." But in the morning she had it all signed up. So I was able to go to school and then go back to Brentford and take it. So I was well happy to do that.
She sounds quite smart, your mum, actually.
Yeah, she's my mum. I've got to listen to my mum.
Yeah.
Be wise not to.
Yeah.
So,
But were your family okay generally with you, with your ambition, or did they want you to do something else?
no, I think they were totally fine with it. I think they all knew that that's what I wanted to do from a very small age. Just kick something. A story about when I was about 2. I was at my granddad's house and he was changing old-fashioned light bulb. It was like the shape of a ball. He put it down in the corridor, and the story, so it's told, is I was in my little baby grow or whatever, and I took a couple steps back, and then I ran and kicked this thing all over the place. So I think the next day he got me a football, and that kind of replaced the habit of breaking lampshades or whatever.
Right.
So they knew from roughly that time, this boy's going to be a bit sporty. He's always into something with a ball. So it started a long time ago.
So what was your first game for Brentford's first team?
Preston North End at home, October 22nd, I remember. I was just 18 at the time, so I was quite nervous and stuff.
That was 1988, wasn't it?
Yeah, 1988.
Yeah.
A long time ago. Yeah, we had a good side. I think we lost the game anyway, but I was able to come on second half on the left wing, put a couple crosses in eventually. I think my first touch wasn't a touch, but the ball got played out. I went to control it, and it went straight out. I was like, oh my gosh, I've had a nightmare start.
Yeah.
And the second touch, I controlled it, took the guy on, crossed it behind the goal. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And then the third time, I got it all in sequence, control, beat the guy, crossed a nice ball in, someone just missed it. Then the crowd was like, yeah. I was like, oh, at least I've done something right on my debut. I enjoyed the night. It was great.
And then were you pretty much established in the first team quite quickly, or did it take time?
I was still a youth team at the time, so I think I only made probably two more appearances that year. Then the following year I made about 12. So it took a little time. And then just as I signed pro in '89, I think the end of that season, the manager called me in and asked me what am I doing in that summer, end of season. I said I'm not doing too much at all. And then he said, oh, he's had a phone call from Finland. Do you want to go out there for alone? I was like, I'm not going out there. Didn't know anything about the place, so I said, no, I'm not going. So I went and told my mum. My mum said, you're going. This is a great opportunity and all this. I don't want to go, you're going. I went, oh. So I went in the next day and said to the manager, I'll go. And he goes, no, too late. Told him that you're not going now. I was like, oh, distraught. What am I going to tell my mum now? As I was walking out, he goes, you was going anyway. So I spent 6 months out in Finland on my own. So played some good football. Played in the European Cup Winners' Cup. It's normally, I think they call it the UEFA Cup now.
Yeah, it used to be called, that's right, the Cup Winners' Cup. Yeah.
So I was able to play against Dynamo Kiev, home and away.
So you were playing in the Finnish top
Premier
league, the first division,
Yeah, I've done pretty well out there.
Yeah.
Ended up being top scorer with about 13 in 28 games, I think. So it was a good time. Learnt a lot on and off the field. Had to be a bit more independent. It was the first time I was ever away from home. Yeah. So it did help when I came back.
Did you find the standard there much better than the? I guess Brentford then were playing in the third tier here. Were
Yeah,
they?
it's like League One comparison.
Yes, and was it much better in Finland, the standard?
Yeah,
of
it was technically better.
Yeah.
There was a lot more football being played. A lot of skillful players as well. So when I came back, I felt better equipped coming back to Brentford. So it did help because I came straight back and was put straight in the team about a week later. So it did help a crazy amount in my own confidence on the ball. I had to just go at people and have no fear. So no, it was great. It was a great period.
And then in time in Brentford, you developed this partnership with Dean Holdsworth and Gary Blissett. You became a very effective goal-scoring machine between the three of you, didn't you?
Yeah, we had a good combination. Obviously, Dino's a out-and-out goal scorer. You know, I played on the wing, so he'd be always telling me how to cross the ball, when to cross the ball. He was giving me the mindset of a striker receiving a cross. So it always made me think about being in his shoes, you know, how to cross a ball, never to bounce it in the box for him, things like that, just little habits. So he helped a lot.
So he was like pre-ordering his crosses, and you were trying to do it exactly the way that he could. Yeah.
So and Gary Blissett was the same as well. So I had two senior strikers helping me how to cross the ball, the timing and everything. And I think the first year Dino went, he scored 38 goals or whatever, a club record. And the following year, I think Gary Blissett went. And then the third year I went. So the goal scorers went before the supplier. So we was all at Wimbledon together.
They all went to the same place.
Yeah, they all went to the same place.
Yeah. So how did the move to Wimbledon come about? Were you kind of approached directly, or did Wimbledon approach the club? How did it all?
They approached the club. I think they was watching. There was rumours they came 2 years prior before I went, and they was looking. Obviously, they had Dino to look at and Gary Blissett. So I think it really kicked off when Dino moved over to Wimbledon, and I think he was suggesting he needs his goal supplier, which was myself.
Yes.
So I think he must have been speaking to Joe Kinnear, and they came watching and stuff and saying, well, he set you up so many times the previous years, let's try and get him. So I think that's probably how it all started.
So you joined Wimbledon.
Yeah.
And the first game you played was against Leeds, wasn't it?
Yeah, Leeds United, home game. I was up against Gary Kelly. And I see Gordon Strachan the other side of the half line. I was like, I've been watching this guy over the last few years on TV, and then next minute I'm hearing this short guy with this strong Scottish accent screaming orders at Gary Kelly and stuff. It was like a dream come true, like just to, you know, be on the same pitch as people like that.
Was it a big jump in standard for you?
Yeah, I was surrounded by better players on my own side. But for me, I think the standard of the opposition was like at its maximum. It was like tip top. You know, when you look at the people on the team sheets, you think, geez, I've been watching this guy on Match of the Day, seen him in the newspaper. Next minute, you're side by side with him, running up and down against him. So it was a great period for me to come in and try and set my mark in the Wimbledon team.
Were you a bit nervous about it, whether you'd make the grade or?
Not much nervous. I've always dreamt of playing at the highest level, so I've always trying to prepare myself for that. The timing of it, I wasn't too sure. But the previous week I played against Port Vale, had one of the worst games of my life, got taken off. I was just thinking, I'm never going to make the top flight now. And then within a week I was, you know, on Match of the Day, winning a game of football.
So how much does that affect you when you have a bad game? Do you kind of feel you can have a fresh start for the next game, or does it hang around a little bit?
It does hang around. I think the best thing is to try and play a game as soon as possible. So if it's a midweek game, it's probably the best remedy you can have. Because if you've got like a 2-week break between a game and you've had a bad one, you're torturing yourself. So you really want to get back out there as soon as possible and put the wrongs right.
So how were the Wimbledon players to you when you joined? We had all these stories of the crazy gang and these initiation ceremonies and people being quite upset. What happened with you?
Nothing really. I wasn't beaten up. I had Fashion, when he was training, he used to mark me in training to try and, I don't know, maybe intimidate a bit, see if I can handle it or not, which was fine. He was similar size, I suppose. But obviously he was a black belt in his martial arts area. I think the first trip we had a trip to Aintree, like Grand National. And I went out, I bought a nice brand new Kenzo suit, just for the occasion and stuff. Because you step up to the Premier League, you need to, equip yourself to that sort of standard.
Look a bit smart.
You've got to look a bit smart. Yeah. So I think I was rooming with Roger Joseph on that night, and we went out. I came back a bit early, being a young one. My bed's been taken out of the room, all this sort of stuff. There was like a brandy glass in the middle of the floor with something in it. Nothing edible, but there was something in it that someone left. At the same time, they had taken all my clothes out. So I was in the room, just the clothes on my back, but I didn't have my change of clothes for the next day or anything. I think Roger came knocking the door and I wouldn't let him in because there's only one bed.
Yeah.
So I nicked his bed and left him out. So had breakfast the next morning, still no clothes. Just before we went to Aintree, I got my suit back. So someone had nicked, I think it was Sam Haman.
Yeah.
He was normally the prankster, the main prankster. So I'll find him and ask him. I'm sure it's him.
So just you introduced the subject of Sam. Obviously he's in a way he's lost his copy back, but with Wimbledon fans, but that comes later in the story. But at the time, it seems that he was probably a central part of this motivating factor, this bonding that was so special about Wimbledon.
Because you don't get many owners that will get involved how he got involved. He made everybody feel relaxed that we're all one. There wasn't no kind of hierarchy with him. You knew who he was, but you could treat him like one of the players. You can probably headlock him, walk around the place with him or something like that. But he was very involved with all the players. If there was any jokes, he'd want to get involved, and so forth. So he made me feel very comfortable around being a new kid on the block. He's a great person, very shrewd. But I think Wimbledon, the things he was able to get away with, I think was because of him. He was a larger than life character, and I think people expected that from us as well, to a certain degree. So
it was as if at Wimbledon there was a lot of good players, but probably no great players. But the sum total of all the Wimbledon players together produced a great team insofar as there was some extraordinary results.
There was no, as you said, there's no world-class, fantastic players. It was just probably a collection of misfits, people that's had setbacks or whatever. Maybe people that just failed to make the grade at a big club or whatever. So you've got all kind of like rejected players with a point to prove. And I think that was probably the strength of Wimbledon, that they had hungry players that wanted to prove that they will do it. And I think you put them all together as a squad, and that's what we got. We got a great response from everybody because they knew we had to do it together. There's no individual that was going to win us a game. We all had to do it.
Yeah.
Everyone took their own responsibility and put it into that team.
So do you think Sam and Joe Kinnear were bringing this mental aspect in? They want hungry players?
Yeah, it was hungry.
Yeah.
Joe especially. He would, if I had a bad game or weren't pulling my weight, he would quickly remind me, you could be going back to Brentford. That's, in my case, backwards. I was like, no, I'm not going back.
So was he quite ruthless with you at times?
Oh yeah, at times. I appreciated it.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have appreciated him being so nice and blah blah blah. I probably would have taken liberties with him. But I think he kept that hunger level as well. I had it in me, but he kept giving me the little reminders. Every little now and again, just a little reminder. Keep pushing, keep pushing. So I'm here to tell the tale. He didn't break me, but he helped to mould part of my character.
And was there actually motivating sessions at all at Wimbledon? Was there someone brought in to help with motivating, or was
No.
it basically came from Joe, this encouragement? And
The encouragement from Joe, I think the players as well, because we knew that we haven't got like a Bergkamp in the squad or a Cantona, so we knew we had to all fight tooth and nail.
yeah.
We don't want to go out on a match day and be embarrassed. So that's why we had that extra determination to go out there and, win the games that we did. And I think that was definitely special. I think fans from around different clubs, they saw that spirit, and I think they loved it as well, because they knew that we was a mixture of all sorts of guys, different backgrounds, and we came together to make a special club.
Because your first 9 games at Wimbledon, Wimbledon won 7 and drew 2. That was a fantastic start for you, and we beat, apart from Leeds, we beat Man U in the league, and Spurs, and there's some good victories there.
Yeah, it was great. Had no time to settle in. Remember the day I signed, and Joe just gave me the programme. He said, "That was your last 10 games. What do you reckon?" I'll sign here then. Because when you see the teams that was still to play, there was no chance I was going to say, "I'm not signing."
Yeah.
I said, "I just want to sign. This is what I've lived for. I want to play."
Yeah.
And he put me straight in. Didn't have to. He could have just used me as a substitute or whatever. But he started me in, I think, all those games. I think, which is bravery on his part. But he believed in me.
Yeah.
He just wanted me to believe in me as well.
Yeah.
And hopefully I've done that for him.
Yeah. So that season, I think Wimbledon finished 6th, your first season. And the following season, John Fashanu left and John Scales left.
Yeah.
So there's 2 sort of quite important
Big
players
figureheads,
left. Yeah. But it didn't seem to affect Wimbledon performance that much. It was still a pretty decent season in terms of results.
Yeah, we had another decent year. With the 2 Johns leaving, it's you expect a team to crumble a bit, but we always had good players coming in. I think we had Chris Perry was just coming in,
Coming through the youth system, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was just making his debut and stuff. So he was a youngster on his way up. We had other forwards along myself. I think we signed Efe Nkoku that year as well. So there was always abundance of strikers at the club, people that can step in and fill Fash's boots.
Which were the players that you felt the closest to?
I was instantly with Andy Clark.
Really?
Day one, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I never knew him beforehand, but we just clicked straight away. I knew Roger Joseph from my Brentford days. Peter Fair, because he was like a youth teamer at the club, and he's progressed through. He was extremely warm in welcoming me into the club and stuff, and encouraging me to come out as much as possible. And so no, we all got on pretty well. It's a good little mix, good mix of players, old and young. Yeah, it's crazy. Like if you had a game on a Saturday, you'll have a young v old on a Friday, and the spicy affairs that was going on, like no one wanted to lose. It was quite serious, quite intense.
Yeah.
And I think that bonded everybody together, those sort of games, because we knew come match day, we've got that same core of players pulling in the same direction. And that really helped gel any new player into a club like myself. So I was taking in no trouble what it took to me, so enjoyed it.
And then I suppose the highlight for you, I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, the game that I remember clearest, you scoring a goal, was that cup replay against Manchester United. We'd been up at, looking at my notes here to see which year it was. It's February 97, and that was that 96-97 season. There was that great run of 18 league games without defeat.
Yeah.
And I think it was 7 consecutive wins in that run. So that was an incredible season, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was good. I think we was third by Christmas that season. So, no, for whatever reason, we had a settled team. Everybody kind of basically picked themselves. The team was quite regular. Everyone was fit. Everyone was doing their bit. And I think that helped through the majority of that season. But yeah, we had some great times on the road. I think we needed to win against Middlesbrough away to make it probably 8 wins on the trot, which nowadays it's a big thing to have 7 Premier wins on the trot.
Yeah,
but to go for your 8th one and draw it, not too much was made about it for Wimbledon.
Yeah.
And I think we paid a price for our unfashionable state that if it was Man United or Liverpool or Tottenham, everyone would be talking about them for, I don't know, many years, I suppose. But when it's Wimbledon, there's not much highlight, there's not much media attention for the positives. And I found that season, we was one of the best clubs around, one of the best teams. But the highlights for us, if it was someone else, you would have, talk about that season for years. But Wimbledon, we got the raw end of everything, I felt. And I felt personally that's why I love the club, because we fight for everything. We might not get everything we think we deserve, but it bonded. I felt bonded with the club from those sort of moments. It's like we know that what we're fighting against, and if we stick together, we can survive.
How did you find the whole media exposure? Because at Brentford, you got a little bit of publicity, but the more you were at Wimbledon, the more you personally got quite a lot of press. Was that difficult for you, or you just took it in your stride?
At times it was. There was a church I was going to at the time for a little period of my life.
Because you're quite religious, yeah.
Yeah, I was getting into it. I wanted to have a look at something else. Just curiosity, going to a particular church. Wasn't that popular with the media, but used to get hammered for it. And
so let's get this clear. So you just went to the church, you weren't promoting the church, and the media found out and made quite a big thing of it.
A big old meal out of it. Got my mum involved, everything, and it had an effect that 97 season, like our best year. There was a point when I was going to just call it a day. I couldn't take too much more of it. There were stories going around about me, all kind of stupid lies and all this stuff, and it was really getting to me to the point where I was going to ring Joe up one day and say, look, I'm not playing today. Can't play today. It got to, I think we was going to play Liverpool at home. Yeah. There's a story in one of the papers about my private life and all this stuff, and I just sat there reading. I was like, I don't want to do this no more. It's just getting too much. I was tempted to just pick the phone up and say, I'm not coming in. I'm calling it a day for good. And then, I don't know, I think I just remembered the kids coming to the games, people that was asking for autographs and all that. I'm sure they would have seen the articles in the paper, and if I didn't show up, they would have probably just believed it. Like, oh, there's some truth in it, or a lot of truth into it. So I decided I'm going for the people, and let them see me. Yeah. And go and play a game of football that I'm supposed to be doing, and that's what I did that year. Yeah. But I did have a big effect. I don't think I scored for 2 months after that sort of article that was out. And I had 13 goals for that season, but I didn't score for 2 months. So I'm sure I would have scored, probably another maybe 5, 7, 8 goals. But the head had gone that year, or towards the end of it, definite. So I was relieved when it was all over and it can calm down a bit.
But you stayed in the team and you still did the job.
Yeah.
And you're still whacking in the crosses.
Well, as Joe said, if I'm not scoring, what else am I doing? So I made sure if I ain't scoring, I'm doing something else. Yeah. I'm setting goals up and being effective for the team. And I think he appreciated that part of me as well, that I was a team player. Not just there to score the goals or whatever and get all the highlights, but he knew I was there for the team.
So anyway, this Manchester United match, I I think it was the third or the fourth round. I think it was the fourth round of the FA Cup.
Fifth round.
Fifth round, was it? Well, I haven't got that in my notes.
It's in that one there then. It should have been that one, fifth round.
So we went to Old Trafford, and I remember we played really, really well. And then right near the end, I think Robbie Earle made a mistake, and Man U scored, and it was like 3 minutes to go, and Man U were winning, and I was sitting with the other women's supporters, obviously, and just felt so deflated. We played so well, it looked like we were going to lose. And then there was a free kick, and Robbie Earle popped up and scored a header, and it was fantastic. It was 1-1, and there was the replay at Selhurst Park 10 days later. Now that replay, you scored the only goal, and we won the match. And it was really it was a famous Wimbledon victory, wasn't it? And it was a very significant match for you because you scored the only goal.
Yeah, I think every Wimbledon fan that come and ask me what's my favourite goal, I told them my particular favourite goal, but they always refer back to the Man United game and that goal. And it was a very important one as well. Knocking out, I think there was the cup holders that year.
Yes. Yeah.
So it was a crazy night. The media attention and stuff after it was like a dream world at times.
Because your mum bought all the papers, didn't she?
Yeah, she bought all the papers. I went to hide at my mum's house, and I went there, and it was like, you'd thought there was a giant cat in the house or something, because there was papers all over the carpet. Couldn't see the carpet. She's so proud, like, oh, I've got this one, I've got that one, I've got this one. So she made a big fuss of it. She had Andy Cole's signature, took photos of him, got it on the mantelpiece. Not that the next day.
She came to the match.
She came to the match.
Yeah.
She was probably more the star than me.
Yeah.
Because everyone was like, are you Marcus's mum and all this? And he's like, yeah, that's my son and blah, blah. So she had a great night. But for the team, it just showed that we're never beaten, even though we came to that stage of the game, and you know what I mean, against the favourites, the holders, we showed that fighting quality and delivered a bit of quality with the cross and obviously my little shiny head. But yeah, it was a great night. Remember the end of it as well. I think Peter Schmeichel went up for a corner or something, and he's actually scored an overhead kick, and then to our surprise, the linesman's got his flag up because one of their strikers was a yard offside.
Yeah.
So it would have been interesting to see if, like, what would have happened in extra time or whatever.
I remember Chris Perry telling me that after that game, Alex Ferguson came to the Wimbledon dressing room and shook everybody's hand.
Yeah, came in. It was a nice touch.
Yeah.
Shows the quality of the guy.
Yeah.
Coming and shaking everybody's hand and wished us all the best. He probably knew we had Chelsea coming anyway. Good luck.
Yeah.
But no, it's a measure of the man. He's come in and said well done to everybody, and there you go, history.
And around that time, you started playing for Jamaica, didn't you? Or a bit before then, was it?
The year after.
The year after, was it? Okay.
The year after. There was a bit of a tension about playing for England and all this sort of stuff, which is quite hard to believe when you think Wimbledon players never get mentioned for England. And I think through that mindset, a lot of players left to try and fulfil that ambition. You know, people like John Scales, he signs for Liverpool, thinking probably he can have a better chance playing for England. Warren Barton the same. So you've got good players that are thinking, yeah, I think I am good enough to play for England, but can I at Wimbledon? So I'm probably getting linked with England. I'm thinking, this ain't really going to happen. It's not really going to happen. So the other options were playing for Jamaica, which came about that summer of '97 as well. So I investigated it. I thought that was a good option as well, and something that I would love to do. So it took a while. There was a bit of problems with my contract, because in there it said I couldn't play for anybody apart from England, which I think's unfair. You know, my dad's from Jamaica, my mum's from Barbados. I'm somebody. I've got a heritage as well. So the contract did say I can only play for England, which is highly unlikely. But FIFA voted in my favour to say I can play for Jamaica, but it took until that World Cup year to get the go-ahead.
So you played in the World Cup in France,
Yeah,
France, wasn't it,
yeah.
that year? Yeah, it must have been a great
It
experience.
was a great experience. The whole build-up. For me coming in at that stage, it was hard because everybody thought I'm only coming now because we qualified. But I already said I went to Jamaica that summer of '97 and said I want to play. But what was stopping me was my contract at Wimbledon.
Right.
So I couldn't play in the qualifiers. So there was a bit of negativity again on my part, thinking, I'm only committed because we're at the World Cup. In fact, I said from '97, I want to be part of this. But yeah, I made my debut in February '98 against Brazil, which was crazy.
So playing against Brazil is really playing against some famous footballers, isn't it?
I was accused of having a holiday when I got back by the club, but I said, well, you can't have a holiday when you got Edmundo playing up front, Romario playing up front, Denilson playing left wing, Taffarel in goal. Because that's not a holiday.
Yeah.
Because the skill level of those guys, the composure, football's just organic for those guys. You know, we have to train hard to get to a certain level. And I believe those guys, they don't have to train as hard. It seems so ingrained in their structure. It's frightening. So to, be on the same pitch as them guys, it was mind blowing.
So what's your favourite memory of playing for Jamaica?
Obviously, the World Cup. I played just one group match, the last one against Japan, and we won that one 2-1. I had a part to play in the first goal. Disappointed I didn't score myself, but just to make that level and to play was like another dream come true. So great memories with the colourful fans, the reception we got from many other countries out there. So curious about Jamaicans and the Caribbean lifestyle and stuff, music, why we're always smiling and cracking jokes and whatever it is. So it was a really good period.
There's another game that sticks in my mind, the Wimbledon game, was when we were playing at West Ham. We were 3-0 down, and we ended up winning 4-3.
Yeah.
So what happened there? What was when we were 3-0 down? What went through your head?
I was thinking this could be 7 or 8 if we don't, pull our socks up. Because I think John Hartson was playing. Iain Wright was up front, and they was terrorising us. And I was just thinking, we need to kind of stem the flow as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Otherwise we're going to get truly hammered here. Don't know what was said at half-time. There's many things you can say at half-time, but I think the players knew it had to come from ourselves, not by arguing or shouting in the change room, but with action on the pitch. And I think we come out, and I think I pulled one back just before half-time anyway.
I think it was 3-1 at half-time,
and then second half, it's like a totally different team.
Yeah.
We said we're not frightened of anything.
But did you remember what was said in the half-time team talk?
Not really. I can imagine what you were saying, but I can't remember at the time. It's probably wise not to, take it all in. But we came out and scored 3 great goals. I think we scored the longest 1-2 in the world from a defending corner with Jason Yu and Efan. I think Jason might have played the ball to Efan halfway up the pitch, and Jason just shot off down the other end, crossed it in, and then I think Efan followed it in, tapped it in. But no, it was a great night. I think people from then, not from then, but they was reminded once again, don't underestimate Wimbledon.
That Wimbledon spirit was just truly there that night, that day, wasn't it? Yeah.
We'd done it as a team. It wasn't like individuals that pulled us out of it. It was the team that pulled us out. We all dug in. We all said, right, let's just give it a good go, see what can happen. And we got our noses in front and held on.
And then Joe had his heart attack at Sheffield Wednesday before the game. It was a midweek game. We still won though, didn't we? 2-1.
Yeah, it was.
But that must be a bit of a shock for the players to know that, or you didn't actually know how serious it was at the time.
We didn't know. We didn't know. We know something was happening. We got to the stadium, put our bags in, came to have a look on the pitch where Joe was, and I think he came straight back in.
Yeah.
So we still didn't even know until I think McCarthy came in and said, right, this is the team.
Yeah.
Joe's not too well, we just sent him in an ambulance and all that.
Right.
So like, right. And he said, look, let's just get the 3 points, let's do it for Joe and get back down south.
Yeah.
Make sure he's alright. And I think having that in mind, with our few supporters behind that goal, I don't know if he was up there that night.
I wasn't there.
But yeah, we made sure we came back with something for the fans to cheer about, but also a bit of encouragement for Joe as well.
Yeah.
That was the last game for him. So
yeah.
I don't think I saw him until maybe that summer. So it's probably about 4 months, 5 months until he showed his face again. But yeah, it was unfortunate for him, you know. But thankfully he's all right now. He's had further operations and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But he's alive and well, thankfully.
And then that heralded a new era with Egil Olsen came in. He's been previously manager of the Norwegian national team. It was quite a big change, wasn't it?
Yeah, he tried to make a big change. Just don't think the guys that came in, they totally understood. Not you're gonna totally understand, but I don't think they really understood what Wimbledon is about. It's a special club, not a big club, but a special club with people involved, and the changes that came in was mad. We was all told like this is his way of play, this is what he does, and that's it. There's no negotiation. He's not going to change for nobody. And he was like, well, we're playing a different formation that no one's used to.
Because he had this system called the zone system.
Yeah,
which seems that nobody really understood very well.
Not really. It worked for Norway, which was perfectly fine. Like, this is Wimbledon, this is South West London. The club's been doing pretty well, doing things a certain way. And came in, and I think the squad was divided. It was definitely divided. You had some players that said, right, I ain't playing for him. Some players said, I'll get on with it. Some players didn't really care, and you saw it through the season. That's the performances came through those segments of the squad.
And which camp were you in?
I was the one that cared. I wanted to play.
Yeah.
If I had the opportunity to go to Old Trafford, albeit a sub, I'm on that bus. And I know for a fact some players thought they was too big to even go on that bus.
Mm.
And you know, the supporters they'll probably be surprised to find out who it was. I ain't going to mention any names or whatever, but you had people that thought they was too good. So I'm not helping him, I ain't doing nothing for him. But what they're saying is they ain't doing nothing for the club. Now you got players, I was not blowing my own trumpet, I'm here to play football. I'm here for the club.
So it was a combination of he lacked the motivating skills, it appeared. Like
he had his own particular way.
Yeah.
He would call you in on a Monday and give you a little debrief of how you performed on the Saturday and give you a mark out of 10.
You got a mark out of 10?
Yeah, you got a mark out of 10. You didn't have to wait for the Sun newspaper.
Really?
Got Egil Olsen giving you your mark out of 10 in front of everybody, and you're like, I thought I was about an 8 today, but it might give you like a 5 or a 6. You'd be like, motivation. I always believe motivation comes from within. If you need someone else to give you that extra, I mean, that's what you're lacking. But for myself, I always motivate myself. If I've got a manager that can give me a bit more, then great. I found at the time he was kind of demotivating. There was one game I remember we played Tottenham Hotspurs away. Got us in the change room, named aside. He says, I'm in the team. And he turns around and says, you're lucky to be in the team today. The other striker's been playing better than you. So I'm like, okay, there's 2 ways I can take it. Either crumble or name myself. Just take it and get angry and perform. Which I did. And I made a point of going to speak to him on the Monday. And I told him, I said, the way you spoke to me was like, if I was a battery, you was draining my power and you want me to perform. So what I needed you to do was probably like just give me that little bit of extra encouragement and be fine. Because I performed how I did today out of anger and bad feeling towards you. and to perform for myself. But I told him that on the Monday, and he was still surprised that I came to speak to him. I told him, don't ever talk to me like that again.
And what did he say to you when you said that?
Nothing.
Really?
He just said he was surprised.
Yeah.
I said, well, there's ways about going around motivating players. I said, that's not one for me. It got a reaction out of me in the strange sense because it rattled me, and I went out there to prove a point.
But it wasn't his intention to motivate you through that by the sound of it?
I don't think so.
No.
There was some good players there, Trond Anderson, I thought he was the best one there.
Yeah.
Leonardson as well. But those two, they kind of really took to the Wimbledon way. Especially Trond, he was there, longer than anybody else, I think. And he ingrained himself with what Wimbledon was about, and he really enjoyed his time playing, I think. The others, I think because of the status, they was just there for the season and gone. And that was the upsetting thing about being relegated with players like that, with a squad of players.
Yeah, they were more mercenaries rather than people that understood
definitely
the Wimbledon spirit and what the club was really about.
Most definitely. Being relegated was humiliating enough.
Yeah.
But to live here and see the game being played around you, and you're in, championship level, you want to recover, and you got the influx of foreign players just gone back to Norway or wherever.
So the last two games of that season, Terry Burton was appointed manager, and there was the home game against Villa, where John Hartson equalised pretty much in the last minute to draw 2-2, and that took Wimbledon above Bradford. Yeah. So they were actually out of the relegation zone. And then the last game, Bradford were away to Liverpool. No, they were home to Liverpool.
Home to Liverpool, yeah.
And of course, Wimbledon were away at Southampton, and Wimbledon lost, of course.
Yep. We just wasn't good enough towards the end. It was too much to catch up at the end. Maybe if we had to change a bit earlier, well, you never know. But I think towards the end, Egil realised the players were right. We need to perform in a certain manner instead of his rigid manner. I think in the end, he caved into it and started to listen. But I think that time it was a bit too late.
Yeah.
Needed maybe another month or two to get the momentum, and I'm sure we would have been all right. We definitely had the players to do it. It was just reprogram the mindset of them and motivate them, and we would have been fine, no doubt.
So we went down to what's now called the Championship, was then called Division 1 still, I think. And that must have been quite difficult insofar as you've been playing before against household names, so as to speak, famous clubs, and Division 1 was certainly less glamorous.
Yeah.
How was that for you?
It was hard. I never wanted to leave the Premiership, but I had to take the responsibility and try and get the club straight back up. Remember, we was all told that no one's going to be sold in pre-season, because when you see the size of the squad we had, the players, you think it's perfectly equipped to get straight back up. We had John Hartson, Carl Court, Jason Newell, Ben Thatcher, Chrissy Perry, Neil Sullivan. So you got a backbone of a great squad. And then slowly but surely everyone was leaving. Rumours about myself going to Scotland from early in the season. I was like, I'm going up there. Eventually I did. But
so how did that come about, the move to Rangers?
Just came out of the blue. I think there was rumours about me going to Newcastle or something from that January. But the Rangers one just came out from nowhere. So didn't have too much time to think about it. It's either you either go or not. It seemed like the club wanted to, get me off the wage bill. Just started to getting paid for the first time in my life, like a decent wage, I thought, compared to my counterparts in the team. And then we get relegated, and part of that is you've got to make your chops and changes, and I was one of them. I was happy to stay put. No doubt.
Were your wages put down when we were relegated?
No, in fact, mine was going the other way. So that's probably why I had to, you know.
I see. They've gone up, and the
Yeah,
club wanted
I
to.
signed
Okay, yeah.
a good contract. The last year of the Premiership, we was like 8th at the table when I signed
Yeah.
it, and we was comfortable. But we ended up getting relegated. But my contract was going to go up again the next year.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, I think the club thought it's better to try and cash in and get him off the wage bill and do something different. So Rangers came in and took me on board.
So were you still quite religious at that time when you went to Rangers?
Yeah, I was quite religious then.
So was that quite difficult going into that, because it's quite a kind of
didn't really,
polarised
yeah.
environment up there with Rangers and Celtic and
It's a
religion.
goldfish bowl, that's definite.
Yeah.
I think if you play for Rangers or Celtic, everybody's looking at you anyway, so didn't really feel any religious aspect on it. I knew about the Catholics and Protestants up there and, you know, the clash between the two teams. But it was never a problem whatsoever. It's just an unfortunate time where I didn't really get a chance to play as much. I only played like 4 games, and the manager already made up his mind. I went for him the following season, so up and down within 6 months.
Yeah, so it just never really happened for you there, did it?
No, like, it's a great club, great people up there.
Yeah.
It's an offer that I couldn't turn down, not just financially, but for the size of the club. You know, you go from having, say, maybe 12,000 at Wimbledon, and then you got 50,000 at Rangers.
Yeah.
You know, to have that experience is great.
So which games did you play in? Do you remember?
Dundee United, Motherwell, Hibernian, and I can't remember the other one.
Okay.
Can't remember.
So Gianluca Vialli came in for you at Watford
Mm-hmm.
in that summer. I think you went to Rangers for £1 million, and then you went back to down south to Watford for 900,000. So were you quite pleased to be coming back down south, or were you a bit disappointed?
I was disappointed.
Yeah.
But I know if I stayed in Scotland, you're kind of isolated if you're not in the team. You're isolated from England again. Who's going to be keeping their eye on you or whatever. So with the manager not having me in his plans, I thought, well, it's best to keep my career playing. I want to just keep playing. I heard about Watford. Well, the club heard about it first of all. They made their mind up before I knew. So it's just a matter of time before I came back down south.
So the club decided they wanted to move you on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
you didn't have much say in that then.
No point staying if they don't want you.
Yeah.
So go to where you wanted. Watford came in, great little club, ambitious manager,
Famous owner.
famous owner. Yeah.
Did you have much
Elton.
contact with Elton?
Well, as I came out of Heathrow Airport, he rang my phone. I was like, "Who's just ringing my phone? I don't normally pick up, you know, unknown numbers." And he said, "Hi, it's hi Marcus, it's Elton John." I went, "What are you ringing my phone for?" You know what I mean? And just welcomed me to the club. Said that'd be great. We've been looking at players such as yourself the last few years, and it's a bit honoured that if you can sign for us and be part of the new Vialli regime. It started off pretty well for me. Scoring a few goals at the very start, and I had a terrible cold or whatever, flu, and bedridden for about 3 or 4 days. Shook it off, came back. Body was all over the place. I had something wrong with my back, and that set me off. Didn't regain my movement for a while, and as with that, you get quite a fair bit of stick by your own fans, and I had a terrible time during that first year. You know, I had not players on my back, but fans not happy, thinking probably a mercenary or whatever, and people just don't know what I'm made of until they actually see me out there performing. But it was a troublesome first year. I persevered with it. The club didn't persevere with the manager.
Vialli went and Ray Lewington was appointed.
Ray Lewington was there. He came through, and he oversaw a bit of off-season training, and where all the players had to come in for like a week and just to keep on their toes a bit. And I think from that week of training, I was starting to just play in the centre back position a bit.
So was it Ray Lewington's idea that you go to centre back? How did that come about?
We came into pre-season and there was only like 3 recognised defenders from the previous year, because most of Viali's players were defenders that had left. And I just said to Ray, without taking any liberties, I'll train at the back while you find another centre back. And he goes, I think you can do a job there. So that was a thumbs up. That was a bit of encouragement, and I was like, okay, I'll step this up then. We'll see how far I can go with it. So I played the whole pre-season at centre back, and then he did eventually bring in Sean Dyche, a recognised centre back. I thought, I'm not going to play now, because I've done all my training at centre back. I ain't done nothing up front. I've put all my eggs in this basket. I'm snookered if he signs another centre back. So I was a bit disappointed he signed him, but Ray stuck to his word. He saw how I performed, and he changed the formation to accommodate me as well. Made it 3 defenders at the back, me, Sean, and Neil Cox, and it worked well. That well enough that I stayed in the side, even though other players were injured or whatever. He kept faith with me, and he played me right through that season.
And you won Player of the Year, didn't you?
Yeah, got through to Player of the Year.
Yeah.
It was crazy because at the start, I think we played Brentford in the pre-season. One of the reporters goes, there's a rumour you're going to be playing centre-back. I goes, it's not a rumour. I goes, I will be playing centre-back. And he was kind of like laughing around it, and I was like, we'll see who's going to laugh end of the day, because I believe in myself.
Yeah.
I've never seen the reporter since, but I've been looking for him ever since. Can't find him, because he was laughing, thinking he ain't going to make it. Even the early reports about my form was like, I had makeshift. I think sometimes the media have to give credit when it's due, and if there's stick, give it when it's due. But sometimes I was getting some stupid stick just for nothing. Could put like a little millimetre out of joint and get a whole column of stupid comments or whatever.
To move things on, because I want to get back to your time at AFC Wimbledon. You had a difficult time with injuries at Watford. You went back to Brentford for a short time.
Yeah.
Then you went to Aldershot for a year when Terry Brown, of course, was manager.
Yeah.
And then when Terry was appointed the AFC Wimbledon manager, you came back to play at a much lower level, obviously, than you had been playing with your previous clubs for AFC Wimbledon. How was that to come back to a club where obviously the fan base was pretty much identical to the Wimbledon FC fan base? Come back, but you're playing at a much lower level. Did you have any second thoughts about that or doubts about that?
No. The way I've been brought up is to always try and be as humble as possible. Don't underestimate situations. So to play at that level was not a problem for me. My footballing background, as we've discussed, it started off at Brentford and lower leagues. I've had a spell in Finland, Dartford, which was non-league. So I'm used to driving to matches, picking up kit or whatever it is, doing just the real stuff in football. When you're playing Premiership, that's fantasy, fairy tale stuff. So the good thing is I had the lower end background to start with. So to play Ryman Prem, it's just a game of football for me.
On the other hand, you're the most famous person on the pitch when you play. How
it can have its downfalls.
How were the opposition to you? Did they give you extra respect, do you think?
I think just mutual respect. No one ran their mouth on me at all. They knew I kept my mouth quiet. Just played hard, and if I took a tackle, I took a tackle, just like anybody else. I didn't make a big meal out of it. Didn't try to take any opportunity because it was me. When I look in the mirror, I just see me. I don't see someone famous or anything. I just see me.
Right.
like most of my friends do, just see me. So no, that first year it was a tough year. There was a time when I was going to just call it a day because my hamstring kept pulling.
Yeah.
It pulled 3 times in 3 months. So I was like, oh, this career's never going to take off at AFC Wimbledon. So there was a point I had to talk to Eric and Terry and the physio. I said, look, if this doesn't clear up, I'll have to just not waste your time anymore. I don't want to be on the treatment table anymore. Just part waves now, sort of thing. But to be honest, Mike Rayner, the physio, he persevered and found out why my hamstring was pulling so much, and it was just down to the position of my foot when I run was pulling my knee over, pulling it to the inside.
Okay.
And he helped cure it, and I was able to start my games for Wimbledon again.
And how was it at that Staines match? What were you thinking when we had, was it 14 minutes to go and we were losing 1-0 in the
weird.
playoff final?
It was crazy. I felt sick that morning. It's the first time I felt probably nervous and a bit sick. I weren't feeling well in myself. I felt I was going to throw up at some stage.
Really?
Yeah, don't know why, but. And the game started, and it was a hot day. The atmosphere is great. The expectations are high. We know what there is at the end of it if we win it.
Yeah.
So we settled into it. I think second half we got more and more settled. And then Mark de Boller comes on. And we're thinking, well, it's a good thing he's coming on because his goal scoring record at that time was pretty good. He had like 10 or 11 goals in about 18 games he had. So we knew with him coming on, half a chance he can probably take it. And that's what happened. He strikes a great free kick in, and we're back in. And then obviously we go on to win the match, and my legs were killing me at the end. And then
I remember talking to you briefly afterwards, and you just looked shattered.
I was shattered. I was more tired about celebrating than during the game.
Were you?
Trying to keep my feet with all the supporters, trying to stop them from trying to pick me up. One guy, I'm sure I must have broke his neck. He put his head underneath me, trying to lift me up. I was like, are you sure? Like, I'm nearly 15 stone, you're not lifting this up. He eventually gets me up with his help of his friend and that. But I was shattered after.
Yeah.
Everyone was pulling and tugging, and it's a great day. I think we really deserved to go through. It was a tough league, really physical, not too much football being played, and they made it difficult for the team at times. But
was your last game?
Yeah,
wasn't
it was my
it?
last game. Yeah.
What a last game to finish on for.
To finish on a high note.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you were given the invitation to manage the reserve team, AFC Wimbledon Reserves. How's that been for you?
That was great. The idea of it came, well, to myself. I didn't really think I would do it until maybe 2 years ago. I was helping my uncle's team down in Hounslow. I was just helping him coach and turn up on a match day and give him a couple of little pointers and that. So I ended up staying for the whole season with him on a Sunday morning. I thought, you know what, I wouldn't mind really doing this. So at the end of my playing career, towards the end of it, I was saying to the club, like, I'm going to, call it a day, end of this season, no matter what happens, and look to get into coaching, meaning hint, hint. But had a little break period, and then I got a phone call from Terry and the club to say that there's a position with the reserves. Who better than yourself to try and inspire the kids here? So I was delighted to turn up and take control of them. Had a good first year.
Well, what's your basic way of motivating people? Because you've learnt over the years as a footballer what works for motivating you, and you mentioned a couple of times about how Joe Kinnear did bring the best out of you.
Well, I try and, now being a reserve manager, I try and recall everything, not everything, but bits of each manager I've worked with. So I take a little bit of all of them and try and put it into my own system, and then it comes through me, through my own personal life, how I've gone about things and whatever. So I try and motivate them with things that they can relate to. They're young guys. They're only between like 16 and 19, So I try and put myself back to when I was that sort of age, what struggles I was going through as a young player, and try and just let them know I was that age. I know how this is and that is.
Yeah.
Don't worry about this and that. But we motivate through, obviously, the crest of the club, the Wimbledon badge, saying it's not an easy club to play for now. When I played, it was probably an easier club then, because the expectation wasn't as high.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I said, now it's harder for you guys
Yeah.
because we've got to win most games.
Yeah.
So the pressure is more. The opposition is coming at you a lot more. So you have to be mentally and physically equipped to deal with all of that. And that's what I constantly try and drum into the players before every match. We've had Sutton last week in a reserve game, which is a spicy old affair. They're top, we're second.
Yeah.
No one's beaten them. And I told them, I eavesdropped on their team talk. The guys, it's Wimbledon's cup final. Their manager's saying, it's their cup final. I was like, go in my room, slam the door. Right, rumour has it, it's our cup final. I said, I said, look, when we weigh up what's been done in history between the two clubs, Wimbledon is far heavier than whatever Sutton's done. This club's gone to FA Cup final, it's won. It's done great things, bigger things than Sutton. I goes, they think it's our cup final, but I'll tell you one thing, it's their cup final. They're playing Wimbledon.
Yeah.
Wimbledon means something. We've got a great first team, doing well in the league. We're a good young reserve team, doing very well against the current leaders. So I goes, remember all the things I've told you about this club, who you're fighting for, who you're representing. Once you put that shirt on, you're just confirming what you're ready to do. You don't need to talk. Once you put the shirt on, it's time for your actions to speak more than anything. You're representing fans, you're representing me, representing the club, and the people that founded this club done it through hard work. They sacrificed a lot to put these shirts on your back. Now you've put them on, repay them. All the boys like,
Yeah. No, great.
so I just constantly remind them how the club was founded.
Yeah.
And what it means to people. It's not a social club. It's a club that wants to go places. It's determined. It's fighting, and that's what the people behind it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we have to finish very shortly, Marcus. But let's just ask you one more thing about what your personal ambitions are in football. Would you like to be manager of AFC Wimbledon one day, do you think, in the future?
Yeah, why not? Most definitely.
Yeah.
I've got a long way to go. I'm still learning every day, every game. But yeah, I want to be a manager. I want to be a first team manager. Whether it's here, whether it's somewhere else, I want to really push. I would obviously love to be here and fulfil that ambition. As I said, I'm only just over a year into managing a reserve team, so I'm still adjusting. Got to work on loads of things, man management, motivation, tactics, the whole works. So yeah, but one day I would like to. I want to really try and get into management and make a mark.
Marcus will make his mark without a doubt, I'm sure.
That weren't to be meant that way. Like, I didn't mean to finish it off like that. It just came out that way.
Absolutely, that's the best way. Marcus, thanks very much for coming and spending
Thanks,
some
Iain.
time with us.
No problem.
And thank you everyone for watching Cherry Red TV and AFC Wimbledon TV. And we're back again soon with some more Wimbledon legends. Goodbye.